were flipping through an article on Mavs Moneyball about what you can and can't do in terms of Jalen Brunson. And Mark Cuban even himself has said, like, you're going to be in luxury tax hell with the deal for Jalen Brunson. And it was just interesting to kind of break this down with the idea of you can't, because we've talked about this a few times, you can't just get rid of Jalen Brunson and bring back the requisite salary because you're going to be over the cap anyway, and that's not how it works. Now, to make this even more complicated, whatever the sign and trade deal, let's say you did sign and trade Brunson, and let's just say it's 5 for 125, okay? Like, and people don't freak out, but let's just say it's 5 for 125. That does not necessarily mean you can just straight bring a player back at $25 million. There are other complicated factors that go with it.
Explain it. This article did a good job of it, right?
Yes.
And also, I feel like that chart really helps out because we're going to do our best, but I really feel like also after listening to us, if you want to during the break, take a peek at this article because sometimes seeing it as a chart makes more sense.
I'll tweet it out right now from in the majors on Twitter.
And so while the team taking the Jalen Brunson contract, you would be on the hook for that $25 million. The Mavericks are going to have to take back a smaller percentage than that because they are a team under the cap. And remember, the bird rights, like in terms of if you're just going to keep your own player, that's one thing. If you're using it as part of a sign and trade, you're going to need to take back a lower number. So you're not going to say, hey, 25 for 25 or anything like that. It's probably going to be closer to like a 25 for 16 sort of deal or maybe 15 sort of deal.
Well, the best way it was explained there is you get to take back 50% of Jalen Brunson's first year of his contract. So if in the first year it's $20 million,
then you can only take back 10,
and then it's like plus 2.6 because then there's a percentage you can go over it. Like,
yeah, that's the 1.25 that you can go over. So if it's 20 in the first year, you could make it like that. Now, could you find a trade partner where you could, I know it's not the same as the NFL where you can like front load, but sometimes people talk about the poison pills in the NBA contracts. Could you find a team that could take on a higher first year salary because maybe they want to get rid of a player? So like, could you structure it in a way where the first year is $30 million, so then all of a sudden you can take back, you're closer to $18 million. But if you're saying, well, then can we do Brunson for Levine? That's an example of how that's not going to work because the salary of Levine would be too high to make that happen. Unless you find two teams that are willing to collude on a sign and trade and make that all work together.
It gets very confusing. That's why rarely do sign and trades with other sign and trades happen.
Do you think the most likely outcome when you saw all of this, when you were looking at the numbers, because it does kind of bog you down because there's a part where like if you're looking at it so it's Brunson by the math and it looks like you need an advanced mathematical degree to understand how this 3-team trade would work. Now, I realize that that's why they hire the people that they do to make this happen. But when you see the complications of this, does that make you feel like it's more likely that Brunson stays? Or did you always think that was the more likely outcome?
I lean towards that's the likely outcome. When you look at this, it makes it very difficult to see any other outcome than these two. Jalen Brunson signs back with the Mavs. The Mavs pretty much lose Jalen Brunson for getting nothing back. Now, I'm not saying they'll get nothing back, but it will be so little that you'll be super disappointed in what you get back for Jalen Brunson. I think those are the two most likely outcomes, leaning towards Jalen Brunson re-signs with the Dallas Mavericks on somewhat of a 5-year contract. I will say somewhere in the realm of $100 million to $120 million total.
Would you do this as we ask for some folks' suggestions from the 972? What about Powell? And I know you're already in. You had me at Powell. Powell and the number 26 pick for Mo Bamba. And Mo Bamba signs up for a 4-year, $50 million deal. Because the thought there is with Isaac and Carter.
Here's the deal. We can't do that. Once we sign Jalen Brunson, we cannot
back the money.
We cannot do any sign and trades for free agents. Is that the?
Can you not do
Yeah,
that?
Mo Bamba will be a free agent.
And can you not do that before any Brunson deal?
You would have to
could.
renounce Jalen Brunson's bird rights in order to do something before it. I believe.
So
It's
that's going to
almost
kill
like-
that deal.
Almost every free agent is off the table in a sign and trade. Once you sign Luka back, you've pretty much, whether it's Zach LaVine, whether it's a smaller, like Mo Bamba's supposedly going to get around 10 to maybe max 15 million, but somewhere in that range. Supposedly, reading the rules, once the Mavs sign Jalen Brunson, you can do trades, but you have to trade for people already under contract. You cannot trade for Mo Bamba. You cannot trade for Zach LaVine. You cannot trade for Kevon Looney. You can't trade for anybody who's a free agent, because once you do the Jalen trade, you've gone so far over another tax threshold that they don't allow you to go sign and trade for other players that are free agents.
And it's not likely, I guess, I'm presuming, that you're going to get a trade of a guy that's got 1 year left, because that's even more valuable, right? Or does that seem like a better option?
I think it would depend to a certain extent about like how much does that team view Jalen Brunson? Because if you view Jalen Brunson as like a logical piece to your expansion as a team, then I don't think you're going to run into that hiccup. Like, you're not going to trade Jalen Brunson because you're like, hey, we need to get out of this. Like, you'd be trading Jalen Brunson to a team that's like, we want Jalen Brunson. So then I think you're kind of maybe not in the driver's seat, but you have like an advantageous aspect.
I think reading this article, and they bring up Mo Bamba a little bit in this, but reading this article, you can take out, if you sign Jalen Brunson, just for your sake, Maverick fans, I know it might not make any sense, anybody who's a free agent
That's more than 6.
that's more than 6 million, right? You can sign them, like Thomas Bryant. I would be really happy if we used our $6.3 million on Thomas Bryant of the Washington Wizards to get another rotational center on our team. You can take out anybody else who's like a free agent that you think is going to get more than $6 million, because you'd have to do a sign and trade. And they say that you cannot do that once you sign Jalen Brunson. So take off Mo Bamba, take off the free agent market, just get rid of it, and then look for trading for. You can trade for Miles Turner. You can trade for somebody else who's under contract.
Rudy Gobert comes up a lot.
Right, and you can't. I mean, in this article too, they do a good job of saying how Rudy Gobert, or at least on this website here, Mavs Moneyball, it kind of goes through how trading for a guy like Rudy Gobert gets really close to impossible because of how much money he makes and what you have to send out. And then would Utah even want what you're sending out?
Yeah, because it would be like Brunson, Tim Hardaway, Trey Burke. I don't know if that is of interest. In fact, I'd probably be willing to speculate that would not particularly be of interest for the Jazz. And then you'd have to figure out any potential draft compensation to go with it. So, hey, if you think you can convince one of these people, not, let's say Thomas Bryant, I get that's a more reasonable
And nobody would be excited about that.
Yeah.
If you don't follow the NBA tremendously, you're going to be like, Thomas Bryant, like, who's that guy?